Sox in the basement.
I had to ease my way onto the bar stool for this episode because I'm in pain. I've made it back to the gym over the last week, and I worked out with what is described on the website of my gym as a master trainer.
A master trainer?
I believe, I didn't ask her, she's got to be sitting in the 4'9" to 4'10" range. It's always the tiny girls that hurt you. And she beat the hell out of me. Like, I can't even walk right. I look like an old man the way that my muscles were worked out in just my first training session. And that's my fault. You know, I haven't gone and done anything to take care of myself over the last 6-7 months because I tore my calf muscle. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you know how stupidly I did that and in the worst, most embarrassing possible way. And then I was just lazy. And now it was just like all these muscles were being used again and they hate me because I'm 48. I don't bounce back the same way. So my body hates me today. And just before we got on here, she's scheduling me for another session. So either the next show, I'll be like, hey, I'm getting better, or I'll be dead. It'll be one or the other, Ed.
I dub the Eloy Jimenez of White Sox podcasters.
That's such a good comparison. There are so many deals, so many moves that happened since the last time we talked. The White Sox have added players. They've had a player retire. They've traded players away. We're going to dive into all of that. Before we do, as I've been doing for the last couple episodes, and people seem to love it, we have listener mail. And I have two of them. I have two pieces of listener mail. Now, one of them is a book. Okay. Now, we got more than this, but one of them is the longest letter. Like, this is as if somebody had sat down and crafted something by candlelight in like the 1700s and then had somebody with a horse like bring it across several states. You know,
do you have the Ken Burns music?
It should have
from the
that.
Civil War. You know,
I can't read the whole thing.
Little sepia tone picture of you in the corner.
If I read the whole thing, it'd be the whole 30 minutes. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to read the beginning of it and the very end of it because I just found it enjoyable to read, and it builds up my ego. And the other one is very, very short. It's on this tiny card. We had our first piece of hand delivered listener mail.
Oh,
yes, I was interviewing somebody on a completely different show, and her husband listens to Sox in the Basement and was like, you're going to go see Chris Lanuti? Send him this first piece of hand-delivered listener mail here on the South Side. So that's the other one. But the first one comes from Joe Baraback, who writes, hi, Chris. You and Ed together make the best sports talk I've ever heard. See, this is why I'm starting off with it. See? It's a little ego boost. You openly acknowledge that you are a loudmouth. And I accept this as the first requirement of a sports talk host, merely hoping the host has something intelligent or funny to say. There are a couple things that make you unique, however. I have witnessed you actually listen and ponder the ideas of your interlocutors. I had to look up what that word was. I have a
interlocutors?
Interlocutors? Yeah. Okay. Basically somebody who's talking to. It's just the person in the conversation. It's somebody with another idea. Okay, he had his thesaurus out. I love it. I'm going to learn that word. I'm going to start working it in on the show. Rather than talk over them and accuse them of idiocy, I talk to them. Second, you are not greedy enough to receive exorbitant money and notoriety like beloved athletes receive. No, I'm a podcaster. I make no money at all.
No.
He also said that he enjoys the way that I do the commercial ads on the show. And names off that he knows he names them all. He names Cork and Carry and Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest and Hyatt Home Medical Equipment, Village of Lamont. And he's like, and I know all of these places because of the way that you deliver the ads. So I thought that was very nice. And I want to throw that in for the advertisers that at least somebody out there took the time to say I do a fair job at that. But here's the last. Here's
a long-time talent of yours. Yeah.
Yes, but here's the last paragraph. He goes into the CBA. We're going to talk about that a lot. We may have thoughts on that actually today. Because you and I were talking about right before we turned on the microphone. So he goes into the CBA, and so that's interesting. But the last paragraph I wanted to read before I get to this one here, okay, in my hand, the short little note that was sent.
The hand one, yeah.
Yes. Joe goes, since I'm Catholic, I'll give my enemy a blessing instead of a curse.
Oh.
In imitation of my friend who used to bless his abusive older brother, I'll say, may God bless Jerry Reinsdorf, that greedy, selfish bastard, and please give us our team back. Amen. Go White Sox, Joe.
Well, speaking of blessings, did you see Justin Ishbia met with the Pope.
He did. And he was referred to as owner of the White Sox. And that's because he's got a partial ownership. So he's not the chairman. There are multiple owners of the White Sox. And he asked the Pope to come and throw out the first pitch.
And it wasn't a no. It wasn't a no.
No, it wasn't a no.
We may see a papal first pitch.
Listen, I'd be lying to you if I told you I haven't attempted through multiple priests that I have met over my life on the South Side who claim to know the Pope, that I have said, hey, can you see if we can get him on Sox in the Basement? Like that $1,000 guest bounty brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park can easily be given to Catholic charities.
Oh,
right?
Very much so.
I mean, if we get the Pope, we win. That's the winner right there. The Pope is the prize, right? Like you get the Pope on Sox in the Basement. And trust me, I'm working the phones on this one. Like I'm actually already kind of being like, I'm using the $1,000 guest bounty brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park at 33rd and Princeton in the shadow of the ballpark for your pregame, your postgame, your in-game. And don't forget about the location over at 106th and Western. And it's a great neighborhood pub. Both locations are great spots to go and hang out with friends, family, run into old acquaintances. And then during the season, just an incredible staff that gets everything done, gets you the good food, gets you the drinks that you need, and gets you over to the ballpark at a great price. I mean, if you're going to pregame, I highly recommend, I tell you, it is the best place to go around that area there at the ballpark. Cork and Carry at the Park. See more at corkandcarry.com. But they are helping us out with the $1,000 guest bounty. And the best guest of the offseason, the person that brings that guest gets $1,000. And if one of these priests, they hook me up with the Pope, I mean, that I feel like that's an automatic winner. If they lost, I'd probably have to come up with another $1,000 if they came in second place.
Well, yeah, I would think if the Pope comes on, no matter what, there's charity going out.
I mean, the Catholic guilt that my mother would give me if I didn't give $1,000 if the Pope was on. And imagine,
at least we'd have to tithe off of the $1,000 guest bounty back to the church,
right? And if I get the Pope, this may be my one chance to become the favorite child in this house. Right?
Oh my goodness!
In my parents' home, it would be the one thing that would get me over my sister, is if I were able to get the Pope. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure if we got the Pope, my parents would just look at me and be like, "It's a miracle you didn't light on fire immediately."
Here's the handwritten note. Okay.
Yeah.
This one's from Greg. Chris and Ed, the old man is banking on a strike in 2026, so is not inclined to do anything right now. Would Sox in the Attic get our team out of the basement if you rename the show? Aloha and F. Jerry. Greg.
No, not Sox in the Attic. Let's go Sox in the Penthouse if we're going to change the name.
I like how he went with the F. Jerry. He went with the Aloha. That's a guy who's paying attention to the last couple of shows. All right, let's talk.
Yes, Aloha. That was actually well done.
I know.
I like that.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about who they added. A lot of transactions here since we last talked. Tanner McDougal gets added to protect him in the Rule 5 draft as expected. Duncan Davitt. Also added, right-handed pitcher. And I got to tell you something about Duncan. He made sense to me, especially when you look at what else happens. And it all happens on the 18th. It all happened on the same day, every one of these transactions. It was like a flurry of moves, multiple trades. Steven Wilson and Yoendrys Gomez go to the Tampa Bay Rays for Everson Pereira and Tanner Murray. I believe that's how I say his name, right? Yeah,
Everson Pereira.
Pereira,
yeah.
Pereira. I looked it up. I saw the pronunciation. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
I got to learn his name because I think he's going to be playing the outfield. I think that's a great deal. I got to tell you something right now. But both are on the 40-man roster after that move is done. But this center fielder, this is a plus defender. This is a guy who's playing center field if they deal Luis Robert Jr. This is a guy who his slash line makes you believe he could be a real contributor, and his weakness is his strikeouts. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ed. You looked at it too. But it seems to me, just a quick glance at him, is this is a guy who can hit. He's young. He plays good defense. And his biggest problem is he swings and misses too much. If you can correct that, and remember, this is what the focus of the team is. This is what they've been trying to do for the last couple of years, especially since Ryan Fuller came in as the hitting guru over the last year or so. It's getting on base and not striking out too much. So for them to make a deal to bring him in, there has to be a belief somewhere in there with scouts or Fuller or whoever that they can fix that problem and find a gem in a trade that I mean, I don't think moving on from one of the many fifth starters on your team. We've talked about that surplus that they have. They got a lot of 4 and 5s who are never going to be 1, 2s, or 3s. Okay, and moving on from a relief pitcher, that doesn't bother me at all if they believe that's what they have in this kid.
Well, they're either going to focus on reducing the strikeouts or optimizing his swing for more home run power. Okay, he has in the minors a career 857 OPS, which is good. That's a really good OPS. Okay, but he also 29% strikeout rate.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. And when he was in his couple of cups of coffee up in the majors, one with the Yankees, and then when he got traded to the Rays last year, he struck out a lot. Okay, and he didn't make enough contact. So if you're thinking about this, if Luis Robert Jr. gets traded, and you have Pereira and you have Brooks Baldwin as two guys that are competing for the center field job, then what you're really looking for out of either one of them is going to be either be a contact guy and use speed. That's a traditional center fielder type thing, or they'll put up with low average as long as there's power, doubles and home runs. Okay. So if the floor for this guy is to have a Miguel Vargas like turnaround and be that in the major leagues, plus the good center field defense, you're really not losing anything from a production value. I hate to say this, and I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on this, but you're really not losing anything from production value off of what Luis Robert Jr. has tended to be.
Oh yeah,
for the most
you're
part.
going to get roasted for that one.
I'm going to get roasted for that. I'm not saying he's a full on replacement for what Robert could be, should be talent wise. But if you look at Robert's production, it's lacking. And if this guy can produce like Miguel Vargas, or if he can, be a guy that hits in the 220s, 230s, but is going to hit 20 plus home runs and play really good center field, that's playable. It's playable.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think you may be underselling what his ceiling is. Like, I don't think he needs I don't think he necessarily would automatically be a guy who's hitting just a little bit above 200 or hitting the 220s. I don't think that's really what he would. If you cut down on his strikeouts and you look at a guy who in 7 seasons in the minors hit 273, I don't expect him to be up that high, but he could be a 250 hitter. He could be a 250 hitter that hits home runs every once in a while. Puts him out and then plays good defense. I mean, look, what do you really want from your center fielder? You're not going to get Luis Robert Jr. center field numbers, but if the guy goes out and he plays good defense, hits 15 home runs, hits 250, and keeps his OPS around the 800 mark, wow.
Yeah, or I'm accounting in that 230-ish level. What I'm accounting for is that they're putting up with a 30% strikeout rate, and they're saying, okay, he's going to K a lot, but he's going to hit the ball out. We're going to have him focus on the power and hit the ball out as much as he can.
I think my thing is I don't think that they go get him if they don't think they can fix that.
Oh, I think
it's such a focus for them. Yeah, it's such a focus for them. It's the kind of what they do. For exterior windows, doors, patio doors, and storm doors, look no further than Window and Door Superstore of Oak Forest. No high pressure sales. They are not going to come trudging into your place of dwelling, and that's a good thing too. I mean, you got leaves on the ground. There's mud. There's going to be snow. You don't want people tracking things in. Track all that gunk into their showroom. They'll clean it up. Don't worry about it. Owner and showroom and on site, all Window and Door Superstore installers, when they do the job, they don't farm out the work. They've been doing it this way for 40 years in Oak Forest since 1985 with all major brands. Custom made, no stock items for a perfect fit. So you go, you see everything in full color, no dingy examples, just the whole thing, and get all your questions answered. You do it a half block east of 159th and Ridgeland at 6280 159th Street. See more at windowdooroakforest.com. So the Sox make that move, and then they also pick up a pitcher. Chris Murphy, left-handed pitcher. He's going to be in the bullpen, you would assume. And they send catcher Ronnie Hernandez from the minors to the of the White Sox to the minors of the Red Sox. Frazier Ellard retires. The word is that he's starting a family and his wife has a business and he wants to focus on that instead of baseball. And when you when you look at the move of sending Yoendrys Gomez away to the Rays and this surplus of fifth starters, enter Duncan Davitt, who, when you take a look at what he's done in the minor leagues, and this is a guy who was with the Rays, another Rays system. Man, it's the Red Sox and the Rays a lot with Chris Getz. Everybody keeps going, oh, he wants all these Royals players. And you see it every once in a while. But it's a lot of Red Sox and Rays guys lately.
Well, the Red Sox and Rays have good farm systems.
Yeah.
That's why.
He's picking from these systems, okay? So this guy gets to the White Sox AAA system after spending time in Tampa Bay's AA and AAA for the first part of last year. And over his minor league career, 4 seasons in the minors, a whip of 1.19. Now, when he got to AAA in both of them, it was a little elevated. It got better when he got to Charlotte, actually. In Durham, for the Rays, it was at the 1.55 mark, but it was only over 4 starts. He got 9 starts in Charlotte at a 1.30. He's just made it up to AAA recently. I think that comes back down. You look across the entirety of his minor league career, he keeps guys off base and just got his first taste of AAA. And this is a starting pitcher they protected from the Rule 5 draft. And everybody's talking about McDougal and the fact that he's a guy who's got projects. And even Chris Getz said it. I'll read Getz's quote about Tanner McDougal because he talked to Merkin. Tanner had a tremendous year. He really put himself on the map as a top arm in the industry on the minor league side. That was an automatic for us, adding him to the 40-man roster to protect him. We feel like he could be an impactful arm for us at the major league level in 2026. So you're going to see Tanner McDougal coming up this year. And again, we've had James Fox on from Future Sox, Elijah Evans from Just Baseball and Future Sox. They both have talked about him. This is one of those guys. There's about 4, maybe 5 that could project out to be a 1 or a 2 at the top because you're not going to go out and pay for that under the Reinsdorf budget. And this is one of those guys they're excited about. But then when you look at Duncan Davitt, well, this guy, he's definitely another one of those guys that could you look at him just like Jonathan Cannon, just like Sean Burke, just like Gomez, who was traded. This is another arm that could just fall in there. And he was added to the 40-man as well. That's a guy who has a chance of also breaking with the team or showing up at some point in 2026.
Yeah, well, and you know, like you said, this is a guy that's acquired specifically because you figure Brian Bannister sees something that they can fix with him.
I see it. It keeps guys off base. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. Yeah. Keeps guys off base. Starts games, keeps guys off base.
And that's a good talent to have, right? So this is the kind of guy that when we talk about the Rule 5 draft could get poached because somebody can look at this and go, you know, but he keeps guys off base.
Oh, I would have poached him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if you're the White Sox, you sit there and go, this is a guy that we think, because you're not convinced, you weren't convinced about Yandris Gomez because the dude walked too many guys and was wild and just had no control over what his pitches were doing.
Did not keep guys off base.
No, not really. and Jonathan Cannon and Sean Burke, for all the great stuff that they have, what's their biggest knock? You have no idea where the ball is going when it leaves their hands, right? They don't even know where the ball is going. It's a wonder Edgar Caro or Kyle Teal can track it down mid-flight. So if Davitt's a guy that keeps guys off base and generally speaking throws strikes, he's going to be valuable in a Davis Martin kind of way. Think about when Martin came up a few years ago, how he doesn't blow anybody away, but Davis Martin's around the strike zone. Davis Martin works pretty well. He uses his pitch mix, follows what his catchers and what his pitching coach are doing. And he's a solid, middle to the back of the rotation type of a guy. So if that's what Davitt's ceiling is, and I'm really low on ceilings today. It's a very short ceiling day for me. I can't stand being here, but but if his ceiling is lower and he's another one of those 4th or 5th guys, then if they feel like he's ready because he comes up and throws strikes, that's going to be what brings him up here. If Tanner McDougal comes up here because he's a guy that throws strikes, or he's a guy that they think they can work out of the bullpen and stretch out, if Davitt's a guy that could fill that Mike Vassell role from last year while they figure out what Vassell is, if he's a starter or if they're going to use him as a higher leverage reliever, that's what you're looking for. That's what we're watching for in the offseason in terms of the smaller pickups and the minor moves that are like this. It's underrated, but it tells you a whole heck of a lot about what their plans are going into spring training.
Well, talking about moves that would really move the needle, that would kind of get people, talking an awful lot about them. There's 2 rumors that are out there right now. There is the rumor, I'll start with the first one, that a lot of teams have checked in on Luis Robert Jr. And Chris Getz telling Scott Merkin, quote, "It's very truthful that we are not shopping him because we're very comfortable having him in a White Sox uniform, knowing what he's capable of doing. Now, if it makes sense for both parties to work out a deal, then so be it. That's exactly what a general manager should be saying, because
That's 100%.
You don't give away the fact you want to move the guy. You're like, no, I want to keep, this is my favorite thing. This is my favorite thing in the whole world, and I'm not giving it to anybody until they give him what he wants, and then he gives it. And then he just went out and got a kid that can go play center field in a deal. Like that trade felt like you were setting up for the possibility you might move. Like if you take the fact that everybody's checking in on Robert Jr., and then you look at that trade with the Rays, and you see this kid come in with the high strikeouts, but he can play defense really well in center field. And you said it, looking at like recent production from Luis Robert Jr., especially if they think they can cut down on the strikeouts, that would make sense. That's like a sneaky move right there if you're thinking about moving on from your center fielder. And like, I know he's got to say that. I still believe they're moving him. I think they're moving him in the offseason. The other one, though, Ed, that's out there, and MLB Trade Rumors was talking about it, was the idea that all these teams are checking in on our catchers, Edgar Caro and Kyle Teal.
Not Corey Lee. Poor Corey Lee. No,
nobody wants Corey Lee. If I was looking for a backup catcher, Corey Lee I'd be grabbing him right away off the White Sox. I'd be trying to get him.
I'd be checking. I mean, he's a good catcher.
He's solid enough.
He's a good catcher.
He's definitely a major league catcher. If you only had one of Teal or Caro, he'd be your backup catcher, and he'd be getting about 30% of the games. Yeah. They'd be using him. So he's a valuable thing, but everybody wants like the bigger names. And I believe Chris Getz when he says we're not moving them. I really do. I actually am pretty convinced you would have to give an overwhelming deal to the White Sox that would blow their socks off to be able to get one of them. And I think they really like Kyle Teal a lot. And the thing that is if you want to have a laugh, you want to see something funny, go on to social media, go to the X, formerly known as Twitter, and find anybody that has a Boston Red Sox blog, podcast, is a radio guy, newspaper writer, a super fan. These morons from Boston, they can't stop posting about how amazing it would be if they could bring Kyle Teal back.
I know. They never wanted to lose him in the first place. They hated that part of the trade.
Why would
100%.
We trade him? But why would we trade him? I always, whenever you see that kind of baseball stupid out there, like, oh, you know what we're going to give you? We're going to give you the best pitcher in baseball because Garrett Crochet should have won. He should have.
Oh, yeah.
He should have won the Cy Young this year. He was amazing this year. He was lights out in the postseason. We gave them an incredible pitcher. I hated to see him go because I wanted them to keep him. But when they made the trade, man, they brought back 3 legit pieces that are going to be part of their Major League Baseball team for a while. I think that trade is going to pan out pretty well for Chris Getz for what he's trying to do. That's what I really believe that. I have a lot more confidence in the results of that trade than I did with pretty much all of the Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams deals over the last several years. But the idea that Red Sox Nation thinks that we're like these rubes, that'd be like, oh, could you give us some other prospects? And so we can roll the dice on them and we'll just give you Teal back after he made it to the majors and proved that he's everything he's supposed to be? What are you, nuts? Like, that's never happening. That's never happened. If that were to happen, I will lead the party of pitchforks and torches down the 35th and Shields. And
I will light my pitchfork on fire.
And listen, this won't be ceremonial. We will go into the building and drag Chris Getz out by his hair into the streets for the public flogging, because there's absolutely, it would not stand. Forget booze at the stadium. They're going to need extra security at Sox Fest if they were to give Kyle Teal back to the Red Sox. And I say that confidently, knowing that it would never happen, because I have not seen this general manager make ridiculously stupid moves. I haven't seen it. There seems to be a thought behind it, but I just get a kick out of the way that the Red Sox Nation, man, you go on social media, man, they don't think they're going to get Kyle Teal back.
Yeah.
They don't think they're getting him. It's not happening.
No, Roman Anthony. Okay, fine. You want to give us Roman Anthony and Jarren Duran. We'll be setting our outfield for a long time.
I'll do that.
Pay Duran's salary.
I'll keep Edgar Caro. You give us those 2 guys. I will not drag Chris Getz out by his hair. He's got short hair too, man. I'm going to have to get a grip. Like, I'm going to have to.
You know what? It's underrated grabbing by the ears. It really, the ears are really, none taught me that in first grade.
By the collar.
Collars can rip.
Yeah.
Ears stay attached.
Hair.
Yeah,
So can
ears stay
ears.
attached.
When you have an angry mob and they've got pitchforks and torches,
Yeah.
ears can rip too.
That's true. Well, anyway, it's academic because Chris Getz isn't trading Kyle Teal to anybody, partially because I don't know that Chris Getz can at this point sit there and definitively say which one is their long-term starting catcher and which is a guy that they would consider moving or a guy that they would consider moving to another position. I think they want them both. I think they want them both to be proven, or it would have to be on the level of give us your best young under control player, and it's got to be a guy that's all-star caliber. I mean, it would have to be legitimately a blockbuster trade in order for Kyle Teal to move. Even for Edgar Caro, it would have to be a really, really big deal. I mean, it would have to be a blockbuster.
Yes,
for either of them.
These are highly rated catcher prospects. It's a position that is very hard to fill. The White Sox are dealing from a position of wealth, and they don't need to move the wealth. They don't need to make the move.
No. There's no need, even if it creates a problem for Will Venable in terms of filling out a lineup card.
Then figure it out. You're getting paid a lot of money.
It's a good problem.
You're a manager
it's a good problem to have
in Major League Baseball. You should be able to handle it. I have said, hey, you might move one of these guys to get something else, but I mean, you just explained the type of players and the type of return that would have to come back. And that's the blow your socks off offer to move one of these guys and then decide, okay, we're going to move on. It's got to be enough that you would know that even if you made the wrong choice, and they're both going to be good catchers, but one turns out to be a little better than the other one, that you were happy because of what your return came back and it was can't miss. That's the thing. Transformed your lineup and got you closer to winning divisions and championships. It would have to be that kind of a deal.
It's a star player.
Right.
It's a star player that has to come back. Like bona fide, nationwide star player. Everybody knows their name and they wonder why they're on the White Sox.
All right. Before we get out of here, you did mention that you saw some more baseball stupid.
I did. I saw some baseball stupid on an MLB memes site on Facebook. Is just scrolling around. Some guy, posted, Sleeper Dodgers is his name, my tier list of MLB teams ruining baseball. And he puts this graphic up, and it goes from destroying the game, cheap and greedy owners, mid, good for baseball, great for baseball. So
we were bad for baseball because we have a cheap owner.
Destroying the game.
Yes, there we go. Okay.
The Sox, the Rays, which is laughable because the Rays are not destroying the game. The A's, Miami and Pittsburgh.
And who's the best? Who's the best for baseball according to this guy?
Well, and then great for baseball: the Dodgers, the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the Phillies.
Okay, so if you spend a ton of money, you're good for baseball. And you want to know why it's stupid? And
great for baseball. We only
have a minute here before we get to the Sox nerd for his weekly thing. But I think I can sum this up for you, Ed. I think I know why you were angry. You should have just as much of a problem with teams like the Dodgers that are paying so much money that it's almost unfair, especially with the deferred contracts. They are causing just as many problems for parity and for look, the level of play, the players are incredible, but that hurts baseball just as much as these cheap owners do. And in reality, we talked about the CBA earlier. If the thing that would fix baseball would be if the players said, we want a salary floor, but then there would also be some sort of a cap. I think that would make baseball the most competitive. It's never going to happen, though, because you're not negotiating with the players. You're negotiating with Scott Boras and everybody that signed with Scott Boras. That's really what the CBA is. It's Boras, maybe one or two other super agents that are out there, but really him. And he holds all those votes for all those players, and he's never going to allow that. But imagine if a floor came in that forced Jerry Reinsdorf, based upon his market size, to spend a certain amount of money, and teams couldn't do this tanking thing anymore. Don't tell me that wouldn't make baseball better. But the problem is then these players would have to accept some sort of a cap. And in reality, that probably makes the game the best it could possibly be. I don't know how you convince all these guys to do it. The Sox nerd now, ready to go. I'm going to be listening intently to him, Ed. You want to know why?
Why?
My latest hinge match is a baseball fan who lived 20 years in Japan, loves Shohei Ohtani, and thinks it's cute that I'm such a baseball nerd. But she wants me to send her, I'm sending her trivia now, as we're setting up the date.
Well, there's nobody
and
better.
I'm running out of trivia.
Better.
I'm running out of. Let's see if the Sox nerd Dave Marin can drop some nuggets that I can use, so I can keep things going here with this girl. That music means the Sox nerd, Dave Marin, is on the line. He puts all those trivia nuggets and tidbits up on the scoreboard at the rate. He's with us each and every week, brought to you by the Village of Lamont. Want to experience a downtown with real history, great eats and drinks, and green spaces filled with adventure? Visit the Village of Lamont. Shop, dine, drink, explore. Check out the Lamont Unlocked podcast with yours truly. We will be exploring that village as they put up all the lights and the holiday shopping. It's just such a really cool place to hang out, especially during the holiday season. See it all at lamontdowntown.com. Nerd, what do you got for me?
Guys, I'm currently posting season-ending reviews of every player who was on the White Sox roster in 2025. This is something I've been doing since 2018, and they are all available on my Sox Nerd WordPress blog, which you can access at soxinthebasement.com. With that said, here are some highlights, Sox Nerd style, of some of the players I have already posted. Jacob Amaya is the only Sox position player to give up a sac fly. This happened in his pro pitching debut on May 8th at Kansas City. Andrew Benintendi's .385 average out of the fifth spot was tops in the majors in 2025 among players with at least 45 at-bats in that spot. In addition, the output was the highest ever by a White Sox lefty hitting fifth. Joe Creedy's .429 average in 2006 is the leader here, followed by Luke Appling twice, that's .416 in 1935 and .393 in 1936. And what was Luke Appling doing hitting fifth? Benintendi hit 11 homers against teams 500 or better in 2025. The last Sox lefty with more homers against clubs 500 or better was Adam Dunn, who hit 15 in 2014. The Sox best pitcher against teams 500 or better in 2025 was Dan Altavilla. The right-hander posted a staff-low 1.47 ERA in 17 games against teams 500 or better. Altavilla's 164 opponent's average in this situation was also a staff low. Cam Boozer held the number 3 hitter in the lineup to a 105 average. That was the lowest mark by a Sox lefty with a minimum of 19 at-bats since Dave Hamilton's .083 in 1975. Aaron Savali is the only player to appear for the White Sox, Cubs, and Brewers in the same season. Brandon Eisert's 72 appearances in 2025 were the second highest output by a rookie in White Sox history and the most since Kelly Wunsch's 83 in 2000. Also, Eisert's 3 innings in 2025 were the fewest ever by a White Sox pitcher with at least 3 starts in a season. The recently voluntarily retired Frazier Ellard held the first batter he faced hitless in 14 at-bats in 2025. That offer is an all-time White Sox high dating to 1951. The previous best was 0 for 13 by Barry Jones in 1990 and Jim Magnuson in 1971. Jordan Leaser's 7 saves were the lowest total to lead the Sox since the stat became official in 1969. Chase Meidroth posted the best White Sox single-season average and on-base percentage marks ever against the Detroit Tigers. That's with a minimum of 13 at-bats. The White Sox have played the Tigers every season since 1901. Meidroth hit .591 with a .700 on-base percentage in 7 games against Detroit in 2025. His OBP is the highest by any White Sox player with at least 8 at-bats and is the highest ever posted against Detroit. That's with a minimum of 22 at-bats. Before I get to my zinger, let me remind you I am posting 2025 player reviews, 2025 nuggets, birthday updates, a daily Sox quick list, and almanac items on Twitter and on my WordPress blog, which you can link to at soxinthebasement.com. My zinger? The White Sox did not have a player receive any votes in the 2025 American League MVP balloting for the second consecutive year. The longest drought the Sox ever had in the AL MVP voting was from 1986 to 1989. Between Carlton Fisk and Harold Baines in 1985, and Fisk, Ozzie Guillen, and Bobby Thigpen in 1990, the Sox did not have a player surface in the AL MVP voting. That's it, guys. Probably more than you wanted to know about my blog, splits, and dominating the Tigers.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.